everyone. Welcome to Cooking Miss Carlson Day 43.
Flip past that.
Okay, today I'm excited because we got eggs.
Yes, today we're going to be making oatmeal cookies. A lot of people make oatmeal raisin cookies, but not a lot of people like raisins in
I
this
like
house.
raisins.
This is the one thing that Rachel does like that everyone else really doesn't. So, but I don't think she minds chocolate chips.
I love chocolate chips.
Okay, so I'm going to show you just an oatmeal cookie base, and then you can add whatever other flavors you'd like to put in them. I'm going to put some chocolate chips in some of them, and some butterscotch chips in some of the other oatmeal cookies, but you could certainly substitute raisins.
I don't know why people don't like raisins. Raisins are good.
Yeah, they're okay. I just don't prefer them. I'll eat them, but they're not my favorite. Okay, so what you're going to need for this recipe is 1 stick of butter plus about 6 tablespoons. You'll need 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 1/2 of a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, Rachel's favorite, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1 1/2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt, and 3 cups of oatmeal. So the first step is to get your sugar and butter together. So again, we need 1 whole stick, and I have softened this already. You will want to make sure that your butter is softened if you're getting it right out of the refrigerator. Otherwise, it won't mix with the sugar very well. You don't want this to be melted though too much, because that will give you flat cookies. So just softened butter. The oatmeal cookies are already kind of flat as the oatmeal comes out, so you want to kind of try to avoid melting your butter too much. All right, so we need 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I just have a 1/2 measuring cup here, so we'll do a 1/2 of a cup, and then 1/2 of a cup to get 3/4 of a cup of our brown sugar. We need a 1/2 of a cup of regular white sugar. Okay, 1/2 of a cup. And we're going to beat this up with our mixer. If you have a stand mixer, that would certainly work for this. I just decided to show you this with the hand mixer. We're just going to whip the butter and sugars together until they're combined. After you have beat your butter and sugar together, you'll have what looks like this. Rachel, now your part, your favorite part. We're going to add 2 eggs. Well, she is adding 2 eggs to this mixture.
Ready?
I'm going to go ahead and get our dry ingredients ready. You want to mix
Wait, in here?
or you just put it in the measuring cup first.
Oh, okay.
You want to mix your dry ingredients in a separate bowl. I know that does create more dishes, and that goes against everything I believe in, but it is an important step.
Okay, 1 egg is completely.
Okay, that's okay.
Need another egg?
Oh, we got a few shells in that one.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, that's
There's
fine.
a giant hole at the top, so
That's fine. Just a big shell to take out. No big deal.
hard to crack.
No big deal. All right, there's 1 egg and 2. Okay, so we're going to put 1 1/2 cups of flour into a separate bowl over here. So there's 1 and a half.
Another shell in there.
That's all right. Just
It's difficult.
it's all good. I've cracked it. Okay, and to our flour, we're going to add a teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay, check for some shells in there because this is not
That's all right. I'll dump it for you.
That
Thank
was
you, dear.
not really my good day.
That's all right. We all have days like that. All right, so a teaspoon of baking soda into this bowl and a teaspoon of cinnamon. It's going to give it some nice flavor. And about a 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt. If you're trying to avoid too much salt in your recipes, you could skip this step, but it's just a 1/2 of a teaspoon, not too much. All right, so what I usually do to save a few dishes is to just use my measuring spoons to mix our dry ingredients together in our bowl. The reason that this is important to do this in a separate bowl is you want your baking soda and your salt to be incorporated into the flour before you dump it in with your wet ingredients. Otherwise, you run the risk of having a bite of a cookie that has a larger concentration of salt, and that's not going to taste very good. Plus, you want your baking soda to be evenly incorporated throughout your cookies. Okay, so we're going to dump our other egg in here. All right. And to that, we'll add 1 teaspoon of vanilla as well. So this is just a standard cookie batter. Nothing too extravagant. You'll want to heat your oven to 350 as well. All right, so we're going to mix this up so all of our wet ingredients are incorporated. After you've mixed your eggs and vanilla into your sugar and butter, this is what your dough will look like. Now we're just going to add in our dry ingredients to this. And mix this up well. You don't want to over mix this though. We'll just get this mixed together and then we're going to add our chocolate chips. All right, so our wet and dry ingredients are together. Now we have to add the best part of the oatmeal cookies, the oatmeal and the chocolate chips. 3 cups of quick oats. So there's 1, 2, and 3. 3 cups of oatmeal. This does make quite a few cookies. Probably a couple of batches, probably 3 batches of 12 or so, maybe 4. Get this all mixed together. Actually, I'm gonna use the beaters, this is too thick. After you have your oatmeal all mixed in, you've got kind of a heavy dough. So it is a little bit hard to work with your spatula. It's going to be pretty thick. What I'm going to do next is mix in a couple of different add-ins to this dough. This is called an oatmeal raisin cookie recipe.
I love raisins.
Rachel actually does like raisins. I'm not sure if she'd like them in these cookies, but they're not a popular add-in for anyone else here. So what we're going to do is separate the dough into 2 different bowls.
I don't know why people don't like raisins.
I don't know. I prefer to add butterscotch chips to mine.
Butterscotch.
So oatmeal butterscotch cookies, those are my favorite.
Nope, no way.
Okay, so I'm gonna add about a cup of butterscotch chips.
What about chocolate chips?
Half of my dough. And then with the other half of the dough, we're going to add chocolate chips.
I'm taking the chocolate chips.
Okay, so about a cup of that as well into your dough. You can tell, just mix it up.
Wait, these are oatmeal cookies, right?
Correct. If you mix it up and you can tell that each scoop has a decent amount of chocolate chips in each bite. This is kind of the consistency that you're looking for. You want to be able to see those chips in there, but you don't want it to be too overpowering. So it just depends on how much dough you want to be chocolate chip and how much you want to be butterscotch. These would also be good with both of the chocolate chips mixed together, chocolate and butterscotch. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is just take my cookie scoop and put rounded tablespoons out onto an ungreased pan. There's enough butter in this, you don't need to even grease your pan. Okay, so we're just going to put about 15 cookies on each pan and then put it into an oven that's set at 350 degrees. These are going to cook for 8 minutes and then you're going to pull them out and let them cool. So we'll come back after we've got a batch baked so we can show you what they look like finished. After these have had the chance to bake for about 8 minutes, you're going to let them sit out on the pan for about 1 minute, just to set up a little bit before you try to remove them. Okay, then you're going to scoop them out and let them cool the rest of the way on a cooling rack. And that's all there is to homemade oatmeal, chocolate chip, or butterscotch, or raisin cookies.